So Fast Screenplay is designed as a reveal. One of the key insights to storytelling and screenwriting, in my opinion, one of the things that I came up with along the way is that stories aren't really told. Effective stories are revealed. So you don't want to just, here's what happened, and here's what happened, and here's what happened, and here's what happened. What you want to have is, here's this situation, and then this reveal happens, which the character has to respond to, and the audience has an experience with, because they didn't see that coming, and it spins the way they're experiencing the story. That idea of the reveal, we'll talk more about that as we go along. We have steps entirely devoted to it. But the idea of the reveal and that being the essence of storytelling, I realized was sort of, that's pretty much how the creative process is as well. Every time you set out to create something, you face the blank page, you face the unknown, you have to come up with something, right? So you don't know what's coming. It's impossible for you at the beginning of the journey to know what the end of the journey is. Hopefully by now you've all seen step one, which is to see the end before you begin, right? But seeing the end before you begin is seeing what you think it's going to be today. As you go along that journey, things are going to happen. The path is going to change. Things will surprise you. You'll learn and discover things that you hadn't even thought about. And as a result, that is necessarily going to change and adjust. So the point of the design of Fast Screenplay is to make sure that you immerse fully into today's action. There's no point worrying about if your script is going to sell before you've even designed the story. There is no point worrying about that. What you worry about is this action, today's step, the full immersion into this. So the way the system is designed, if you immerse fully into today's step, it's the next action in the process. So the entire system, every step of the entire system, the step's title is the action step. That's the next action in the process. When you open that action up and you see the article helps you understand the ideas and the insights relating to that step, that action. The exercise itself is something that you physically do to give you the experience of that action, which is the title of the step. So that in the future, you have gone through this process. You've literally experienced the entire process from start to finish. Because you then have that experience, you can go back and go through that experience more quickly, more fluidly, more intuitively, more naturally. And that is how you're then going to increase your quality, increase your speed, increase your effectiveness, and ultimately connect with your project's ideal producer. Now, it's entirely possible that you get to the end of the first run through Fast Screenplay and not sell your work, because you're still learning the process. But as these pieces build one on top of the other and then snap together into a cohesive whole, a whole phase, the whole system itself, that then becomes this fluid process that you can go through and you can use pretty much for the rest of your life. So the way each step is designed, there are layers to them. So if you're a brand new writer, you know nothing about screenwriting, you're going to see the step, you're going to do the exercise, and you're going to understand it on one level. Once you've been through the process and you see how all the steps connect to each other, then you go back to that first step. You're going to see it in a different way. I have had people who've gone through the process, they get to the end, they go back to the beginning, they go, have you changed these steps? Because I don't remember this at all. And it's not, we hadn't, at that point, we hadn't changed those steps, but we've tweaked and we've refined along the way, and we will continue to do so. But But what's happening is you're looking at it through a different lens. So those of you who are intermediate level writers or maybe advanced level writers, you've done classes elsewhere, you've read lots of books about it, you know the fundamentals of storytelling, you will see things that are familiar to you. But the point is to see the process, to understand how the steps unfold and how they connect to one another. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the science and theory behind it. I'm a sort of a science nerd, I guess you would call me. Science and space. I love those things. I have a fascination with the way the human brain works. I have a fascination with neuroscience. Just don't show me the blood and guts of it because I have a queasy stomach. but I'm fascinated by the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala and the hypothalamus and all the sort of how these things function. And your spatial reasoning happens over here, and all that kind of stuff. I focus on that stuff. And one of the things that has come up along the way is that when we sleep overnight, our brain is basically processing the data and the experiences that have happened that day and filing certain things away for long term and getting rid of things that it probably doesn't need anymore to free up space and energy for the next day's set of experiences. Because our brain ultimately just takes in all the sensory data from the world around us, and it mashes it together with our previous experiences and our unique brain chemistry based upon our life experiences, our imagination, our physicality, all of that stuff. And so a lot of people who are new to the system get frustrated with the 1 step per day thing. And the 1 step per day, I've tested this pretty much every way you can imagine. I don't know if there's anybody in here who joined us when we were offering. I did this one off sale thing one time where I was like, let's see if this works, where I gave the whole system away. You would buy it and it would open all up to you on day 1. And the problem is it just doesn't work. And you can guess why, right? Can you guess why? The reason it doesn't work is because everyone jumps straight to the payoff phase. They look for how to contact their producer, and that's all they do. They don't even look at the steps, or they cursory look at the steps. I've tried opening it up where as soon as you complete a step, the next step will open immediately for you. I know we've got 1 or 2 people who are from that group. It doesn't work either because people race through it. Your brain doesn't have time to amalgamate and integrate the information overnight. The way that our brains work is we have this one tiny little spot of conscious focus. We can literally focus consciously on one thing at a time. But meanwhile, our brain is absorbing lots of data in the background. Our creative brain is integrating all of the data and our memories and our experiences in the background and serving up ideas and thoughts and to all of that stuff to that creative focus. So when you have that idea like, oh my God, I've got a great idea for a story, that's not your conscious brain coming up with that idea. That's your creative subconscious serving that idea up to your conscious focus. So we need the overnight time to enable the exercise and the activity that you've done that day to become ingrained, to become a part of you. So if you just read a step, right? You open up step 1 or step 2 or step 3, right? You open it up, you read the article, you read the exercise, you go, okay, yeah, I got it. And then you move on to the next step. The problem is that information is like ideas. An idea is it's an electrochemical signal in your brain. When you have an idea, that idea will be there until the next idea comes along, and then that idea will disappear. We've all had that experience where we have a great idea, and then 2 seconds later we go like, wait, what was that idea? I can't even remember how is it, am I losing my mind? How is it possible that I don't even remember the idea that I just had that was brilliant, right? We've all experienced it, but it's because ideas, it's just an electrochemical signal in your brain. If we don't capture it, if we don't harness it, if we don't physicalize it, and this is the key, if we don't make it a physical experience, that intangible idea will dissipate. The same goes with information. When you read the articles, right, there's a lot of content in there. You'll get further along, so there's some dense stuff in there. There's like a lot of detail, and you're like, oh my God, there's all this detail here. That information is just an idea in your head. If you don't do the action, if you don't do the exercise that goes with it, you're not physicalizing it. And it's by physicalizing it that we basically more or less build a memory, right? So if we say the first step is see the end before you begin. So what's the exercise that we do? The exercise is to basically capture your goal, harness your goal. You do that little extra PDF there, like how to guarantee completion of your, if you've done that exercise, you will have a specific reason. You'll have a very tangible reason why you have to get this done and why it's important to get it done now. And once you've done that, you have physical, you're using more of your senses. You're making this a part of your life experience, basically. So it's not just an idea that popped up into your head, like, oh, you know what, this is what I really want. Yeah, that'd be cool. And then you daydream about it and then it dissipates. Instead, you've taken that daydream idea and you've made it physical. You've created, you've thought about it. Maybe you walked around the room and you've sort of worked it out in your head and you've harnessed it. By harnessing it, by making it tangible, then what happens is overnight, when you sleep, your brain goes through the day's experiences, and that experience was important to you. That experience had emotion and passion with it. Your brain says that is an experience that I need to retain. And so it stores it in your creative subconscious. Then the next day, we get the next step. If you continue to focus on the step that we did in step 1, when you get to step 2, then you're not fully immersed into step 2. So we basically go, cool, did it, leave it to the side. Step 2, we do step 2's exercise, which is, I don't know if you guys are there yet, but preparing for the journey ahead and making those plans and physicalizing that, right? So if you go through one step at a time, each step builds on what you did in the previous step. But if you've actually completed the exercise and physicalized it, and then let your brain overnight assimilate and integrate it into your creative subconscious, then we're essentially building a skill as we go through that process. So it's there's a simultaneous effect. It's not just learning the information. Information is everywhere. There's 1,000 websites out there about storytelling and about writing better dialogue and character building and all that stuff. There's a ton of information out there. And there's a lot of really good information out there. But if you don't have that process and we don't nail down that process and make it truly a part of your creativity, if we don't do that, it's all for nothing. And you're going to try to take all this information and then you're going to sit down and try to write, and there's all these competing thoughts in your head. So the idea with FAST is we separate it out, we go through one step at a time, and that way we can also focus on building skills as we take you through an experiential process that you learn by doing and not just by thinking.